originally, I did not study design. I went to a very serious business school in France, and I have a business degree. But I sort of like hide it from my clients because I guess, how could a very creative interior designer have a degree in business? The truth of the matter is that it helps me a lot, because in this business you need to know how to hold a budget and how to be on time and all those things that might sound boring but that make you successful as a business person. The love of art and design has started very, very young. My mother was actually very much involved in the decorative arts and arts in Paris, where I grew up, and my father was a politician, so we had this very funny mix at home. But the truth of the matter is that from a very young age I would go with my mother to museums and exhibitions and artist studios, and I think that definitely started, you know, my interest in arts in general. Don't wait to see what I started my business in 2000, and at that time I was still an accessory designer. So I had designed a house for a friend of mine just as a favor, because he didn't want to deal with, you know, the hassle of dealing with an interior designer. So very soon after he took possession of the house, people started calling me and inquiring if I, you know, could do interior work for them. And I was silly, you know, I would say, oh, thank you so much, but that's not what I do. And after 5 or 6 phone calls, I realized that, you know, there was a tremendous opportunity for me to jump and do something else that I had always loved. So I said, sure. I jumped in a taxi to go downtown to incorporate the business. I needed a name. I called Reed, my husband, and asked him, you know, to help me find a name. I didn't want to call it Delphine Boyon, which was my maiden name, because I was secretly hoping we'd get married at some point. So I just wanted a French name that would sound really cute with an American accent, and he came up with Pamplemousse, which is very cute, the way American people pronounce it. So that's the name of my business, Pamplemousse Design, and I have been crazy, crazy busy since then. I made a conscious decision to keep my business quite small. So as a result, I've been very lucky in the sense that I only take the jobs that I really want to take, because when you're an interior designer, you have to spend a lot of time with your clients. You become part of their lives. And if you don't like them, it can be horrible. When I knew that was what, you know, what was right for me, I would say it's probably our first story in Vogue, in American Vogue, when the first townhouse that I did for Reed and our family was featured a few years back, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I mean, obviously it was a great honor. I don't think that if I was trying to be a successful interior designer in Paris, I would have that much success. In America, I think the public is much more open to working with interior designers. Almost everybody has an interior designer. You know, you pass it on like you would pass on the name of your trainer or your colorist. Like, look, I have a great interior designer. Now, my being French probably brings, you know, a little bit of a different sensibility. Definitely, I know the European decorative arts, you know, very well, and I'm able to share that with my clients. And then, you know, I think American people think the French are chic. You know, I'll take it. Why not? Right now I'm working on a bunch of different projects. One in particular is a great loft down in the village on Waverly Place. I'm really enjoying working down there for a young couple. So it's really fun because they don't own much, but they're really interested in the decorative arts. So that enables me to, you know, show them what's interesting, what they can afford for their budget, but make sure they buy interesting pieces and things that are the beginning of a collection. A collection for me should represent that and should be layered. So it can be a mix of, I mean, in my case, I like to mix things from, you know, Louis XVI all the way to very contemporary designs, such as, Mark Newson or Joris Larman or Ron Arad, and that's what to me makes an interior personal. I like to use antique materials that I import from France, and that can be the floors. For instance, these floors came from an hôtel particulier in Paris in the 17th arrondissement, or the fireplace also is antique and came from France, and that's something that I really like to do, especially in pre-war buildings or houses or apartments. I like to use lacquer a lot. It gives a sense of height and of elegance to a room that I like to use a lot. And then I am a strong believer that you should start a room with the rug, because that's really what's going to anchor the room. So you need to find a really bold rug, something that is going to make the room, and then you can, build the furniture and bring the furniture on top of it. I did design a few pieces for my husband's Reed store, and it was really fun to work on that, and being inspired by his collection, which the fall collection was very much about felt and very strict forms, and that's really what started the few pieces of furniture that we designed together. The forms are very simple, the materials are very industrial, mainly industrial felt and artist canvas. So materials that are not, considered as fancy, but are just there to serve the form itself. It was the idea of putting together ideas that I like to use in a residential environment and try to apply it to a store that still needs to function as a store, but really wanted the store to feel inviting and comfortable and not retail. Well, I don't really do office space. I did Reed's office because is Reed and because we collect together. And in this room, there's a really interesting mix on much more contemporary design, but yet it's still the eclectic mix that we like to put together. It was really fun to bring those pieces together in a work environment where typically you don't see very interesting design.
I've saved up the best one for you.
This is probably the best room I've ever designed, and it's my favorite room of all our houses. And the reason why I think it's a successful room is because it says a lot about the people living here. And my husband Reed and I spend a tremendous amount of time here, studying, looking at books, researching pieces either for our collection or for my clients. I have to admit that I found a lot of pieces online today. You actually can find a lot of good things on eBay. Let's see, my favorite thing to buy on eBay are vintage frames. So the right way to do it is that you're going to buy horrible paintings or horrible photographs that you're going to throw away, but the frames are often very good and you can get really good vintage frames. I do that a lot. I think the biggest mistake one can make is just to listen blindly to their interior designer. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be living in the space, so the space needs to reflect who you are and what you like, and not just be what your designer wants to do.
Looking back.